Good morning, everyone. I wanted to kind of sit down and have an honest chat about skepticism and the Myers-Briggs personality typing system. How much of the skepticism is healthy skepticism? How skeptical should we be? How come some people are totally buy into this stuff and some people don't? What types are the most likely to be into this stuff? I just kind of wanted to talk about this because I feel like I'm a very skeptical person, and I also feel like I'm the type of person to believe things that people call pseudoscience. Like a lot of people compare the Myers-Briggs to astrology and say it's nothing more than a horoscope. And then defenders of the Myers-Briggs will be like, oh, no, like, it's not like astrology at all. Like, it's real. And that doesn't really help out. I like astrology. In fact, I think it's more real than the Myers-Briggs because it's ancient. And it's based on the sky. And it's been observed for thousands of years. So if you want to talk about real, I mean, both of these things are things you can't see. And both of these things are things that are misunderstood of what is its use. People use it for the wrong ways, and that's why they get frustrated with those systems. And with Myers-Briggs, and okay, I'm not trying to compare these two too much. I guess I'm just saying, like, there are a lot of things that people, it's like, to the naked eye, it looks like you can't see it. But to the trained eye, you can see it. With Myers-Briggs, if you don't think about the world in terms of 16 types, then you aren't going to notice it in your friends. But once you understand the system, then you're going to start to see it everywhere in all your friends and everyone you know. Same with the Enneagram. Same with socionics. Same with astrology. Same with numerology. Same with like the disc and the big five and all those things. It's like these exist to the trained eye, but to the untrained eye, to those who aren't familiar with the root of what that test is just saying and what that tool is for, they're going to misinterpret it. But anyway, I guess to finish my point of just something I was saying earlier is that I feel like I'm a very skeptical person, which is interesting because I also tend to believe in all these things that might be hard to believe for some. But for me, I think it's that skepticism that drives me to have a clearer view about what's actually going on. You've got some people that they just, okay, like the Myers-Briggs #1 fans. You've got some people that don't know who they are, don't understand other people, and so they took a test, they saw something that seems like it sounds like them, and they're like, all right, like, I'm this type, like, that's what I am. And then they kind of move on and they don't think about it that much. So there are those types of people that tend to really not be skeptical, really get the idea right off the bat. And then there are people that are super skeptical that are like, no, like, don't put me in a box. I'm not this. I am fluid. Like, this test is wrong. And those are like kind of two extremes, and most people that are into Myers-Briggs personality are the type of people that just want a quick fix and a quick answer. They want to know who they are. This makes sense. They see it makes sense. Like, all right, that's cool. For me, I saw it made sense, but then the majority of my feelings was like, well, how do I know that this is who I am and not all these other people, or not all these other types? And what is the real differences between these types And am I always going to stay this type? What even is a type? Like, I don't know. Like, I had to, like, answer all these questions before I was comfortable with even believing it as a thing. Like, for me, I can entertain many ideas, but it takes a bit for me to actually believe it. And this is something that I believe. And belief is much different than accepting an idea. And belief is much stronger. Because to believe in something without evidence is difficult. A lot of people on Myers-Briggs forums are simply people that are entertaining the idea, an idea that they want to believe, but it's not true belief. And a lot of times, people attach to the types, whether they're mistyped or whether they're typed correctly, because they identify with the description. And I want to caution against identifying with anything, because you are you. Like, yeah, you can identify with stuff, but no description is ever going to encompass you. So when you identify as that's who I am, it kind of limits you into understanding who you really are. Because there are millions of people of each type, and you are more than that. And so I think that that's what the skeptics get right whenever they don't want to believe in these sort of things. And everyone always shares that video from Vox that completely tears the Myers-Briggs to shreds. And I like Vox. Like, they're one of my favorite news organizations. I love Ezra Klein. And so part of me was like, come on, like, why'd they have to do that? Why'd they have to do that to me? Everyone knows that the Myers-Briggs is more for self-discovery and than like job placement. Come on now. Anyone that says it's for job placement, I think that, I mean, in the career, in the corporate world, in the career space, I think that Myers-Briggs is suited for team bonding and not bonding, but like, I'm trying to think of the right word, but like cooperation amongst teams and groups. Team building, that's what I'm thinking. It's better for team building. It's not for job placement. It's for understanding yourself better so that you can communicate yourself better, especially to people that are different from you, and understand where the root of the disagreement comes from. But yeah, so there are some people that really just attach to Myers-Briggs right off the bat, and I think that a lot of them are NPs. A lot of them are NFs. I think that they're the guiltiest of this. Why I think that SPs are either super skeptical or super like, oh cool, that seems to fit, and then they move on either way. These are just trends. It's not everything. I do think that a healthy amount of skepticism is important when learning anything, but I also feel like if you want people to take you seriously, if you want your ideas about Myers-Briggs to be taken seriously, you have to allow for a healthy amount of skepticism, because or else you're erasing those people from the conversation. Those skeptics are the ones that refine ideas and make them better. It's very healthy to be skeptical in certain ways. And if you aren't letting those people into the conversation, then you're just going to be full of people that are a self-fulfilling prophecy of the exact reason why the skeptics don't want to believe in Myers-Briggs. If the only people that are talking about this are the people that are using it as a way to escape their if they're using Myers-Briggs as a way to escape the things that they dislike about themselves and wanting to identify with a pretty sounding description, then the skeptics are going to look at it and be like, see, this is a joke. Like, there's nothing mentally there about it. These are just people wanting to fit a label. then they're right. And so we don't want them to be right because we know that that's not right. So we know that the Myers-Briggs is more than, we know it's more than just wanting to have a label. And how are we going to communicate what we see? And a lot of times intuitives are plagued by this problem of not knowing how to explain what it is that they're reacting to, especially NFs. NFs and NTs, we will see these patterns everywhere. Like, I will see patterns in action. I will be standing at a networking event and see the pattern in action. And even when I'm saying this to you right now, seeing the pattern in action, I'm like, what the hell does that mean, Megan? But I don't know how to tell you. I just know that it's something that I see, and it's very hard to explain that to somebody who does not see it that way. It doesn't mean that you're wrong. A lot of times you just have to trigger an image in their head in order to see what you mean. I think that I believe, and a lot of people that are talking about this topic with me, I believe that Myers-Briggs is, okay, I'm not even going to say Myers-Briggs because I do think that that's accurate, but I think that Carl Jung's cognitive functions are really something special, and this might seem a little much, but I view its discovery as similar to discovering mathematics. Humans didn't always know how to add things and how to subtract things. Math is one of those things where there is no evidence for math. It is true because it works and because it is coherent with itself. I think that the Myers-Briggs tries to attribute evidence to these cognitive functions and these very distinct differences in human behavior. But I don't think that evidence is really possible. I think that the only way to see it is to see it in action. And I think that there's a lot more barriers to the way we discovered math than the way we're going to be discovering the laws, I'd say, of human behavior. Math, we discovered it because there were laws. The same way that we discover laws of nature, like laws of gravity, there are laws of math. And I think that there are laws of the way that human cognition works in the sense of if you prefer TI, you must also prefer FE. If you prefer FI, you must also prefer TE. Like, these things with cognitive functions and type, it's a balance. Like, there are equal and opposite sides to you. If you introvert first, your second function must be extroverted, and then your third must be introverted. Like, that balance, I feel like it is so inherent. And, well, I'm kind of getting on a soapbox here, but the thing is that it's really kind of it's impossible to it's impossible to just try and treat it like, oh, look at this interesting thing that we can test, whenever I think that the real purpose and the real beauty of it is much bigger than that. And it's something that just as math, we discovered math, the laws of math, and we discovered all these equations, and people are still continuing to discover equations today. Like, we're not done with math as a species. There's more math that we have not learned. Like, don't be so cocky. Like, you think you know everything? Yeah, well, just as our motivations with math, we had very strong ones. Like, we wanted to evolve technologically as a species. We wanted to, like, understand, like, how to grow our food better. Like, there are a lot of things we want to understand, a lot of motivations that made math make sense. I'm trying to tell you guys that understanding human cognition we got to have the motive or else we aren't going to fully understand it. And I think if you take a look around at the world today, like, we need to understand each other so much. Like, we can't keep going like this, and as a species we depend on it. We depend on the ability to communicate. We are interconnected. There's so many things that divide us today in politics. People are being more active in their beliefs on both sides, which I think is good, because I think it means we're getting somewhere. Even though it seems like things are going crazy and shit's hitting the fan, which, yeah, it is. To some respects, yes, it is. But I think that it's good that both extremes, and I'm not trying to have a false equivalence here. Like, I'm very much for, like, one side here. But my point is that on both, the fact that radicals on both sides feel like they can express means that a conversation's actually happening, and I would much prefer that than a few decades ago when the conversation wasn't happening but the same feelings were still there inside. And so I think it speaks to empowerment of oppressed people and empowerment of unpopular beliefs. Like, yeah, it sucks, everything sucks now, but it also wasn't that great before. And how great is it that now you have the confidence, and now we have the confidence to speak about these things, and now we know that we're not alone, like, we're having this conversation together. But anyway, like, that's a total side note, but my point is that there are a lot of, like, schisms in social structures these days, and I think the only way to solve it is to understand each other, and that's why I'm so passionate about Myers-Briggs. And I also like Enneagram and astrology. I've just been thinking about the Myers-Briggs types more and longer, and I'm passionate about these cognitive functions and what it tells us about ourselves and about the reasons why we disagree with each other. I've said this before in other videos, but my best friend is an ENFP, and we use all different functions. And for almost 3 years now, we've been completely overanalyzing each other almost every time we hung out. Like, especially the first year when we didn't know each other as much. But I would be like, this is just an example. I would be like, when I miss someone, when I say I miss you, I mean that I wish you were here right now. I don't miss someone. I don't think about the past. When I say I miss you, it's because I am noticing their absence. And I'm like, is that SE of me? And then she'll be like, yeah, it is, because I've never felt that way. I'm an ENFP, and when I say I miss someone, I'm thinking about a time in the past. Then we'll be like, whoa, like, that's so weird that we can say the same statement, I miss you, but mean something completely different. And how often does that happen with people? Where you think that they're saying something because you're thinking of what you would say, and we all have this bias. And so Crystal and I, my best friend, I'm so thankful for her, and I know so much about people because of her, because we were both skeptical, and it would be like, is this NI of me? And she would be like, like, I think, because it seems similar to what my SI does in this respect, is that they're parallel to each other. Or like, it's like when we're fighting, like, we'll be like, wait a minute, like even if we're angry with each other, it'll be like, oh, is your FI just thinking that I don't care about you because it's not true or something? Like, and we use these functions as a way to communicate, and I don't think that I've understood anyone as much as I understood her because of this use of the functions, because of this mutual understanding that we're different, and this mutual understanding of how our differences help each other and challenge each other, and we grow from each other. What if the world was like that? What if we all could believe that? And to close off this video, I think that the only way to get there is with a healthy dose of of skepticism. Shout out, I'm just going to do this shout out to Eric Thor. You might have seen his videos. I think he does a really good job of being skeptical of the way that the typing structure is, or of the way that like Myers-Briggs typing is, and he's always squashing stereotypes, which I really enjoy. I'm going to actually link below a video that we did together where he where I talked about some of the problems with Myers-Briggs and some of the stereotypes. But I think that amount of skepticism is going to help us down the road, because when we remember why we're doing this. Why are we interested in Myers-Briggs? Why the hell do we even think about personality? It's because we want to understand humans better. We don't want there to be miscommunications. We want to get each other. We want to feel like, I don't want to feel like someone's an STJ, therefore we're never going to be close because we have these barriers to cognition. So when we remember that's the reason why we're even doing this and why we're interested in this in the first place, and we have that healthy amount of skepticism and are continuing to refine our beliefs, that's what's going to take us further. So thanks for listening to this video. I hope it gave you something to think about, and have a good rest of your day.